coming in huge numbers, and thanks especially to Dr. Jaiman for his enriching experience being shared on the stage. I've attended a lot of shows, but frankly the kind of information which was shared was immense. I'm kind of deeply honored. And I'm also honored to see some of our customers here who have been using AWS services as such for a long time, kind of different kinds of things which they've been doing for frankly 5 years plus now. We've got customers here, ABP News I see here, we also see Balaji, we see Scoop Whoop, we see Wink, we see Hindustan Times, not to forget. So the endeavor here for me is to talk about how AWS can help in terms of enabling and supporting the media ecosystem to achieve any new goals which we are seeing at this point of time, any new innovations which are coming up in this space. I was at NAB last month, and NAB is really the center of all global innovations which happen worldwide in the broadcast and media space. So I'll probably just give a glance as to what we are seeing here in the as far as all the new things which are coming up. And the first thing which we see here is channel playout. Now this is very typical to the broadcast industry. Typically we see all broadcast automation systems traditionally being on-premise. And what we saw there was most of the broadcast vendors which have been in existence for the last 20 years, they're all talking how they can move to the cloud. And the biggest reason for doing this is all flexibility. Content production owners are looking at all new ways and means to deliver live content, linear content to different consumers. So traditionally what we see, for example, we have NDTV here, and again NDTV is one of our big customers. So thank you. So typically there is a channel and there is content. Now the only way to deliver that content is through the channel, right, which essentially is either in the broadcast space, and now people are also taking this for quite some time in the online space. But the content is still the same. Channel is still the same, which is getting delivered. Now, the kind of content which we see is coming to our broadcast customers, and specifically in the video space, is immense. We have one of our customers who's traditionally a newspaper hub, and they are producing around 1,500 video clips a day. That's immense, right? So 1,500 clips coming in from all different places across India and then converging in different locations, and different parameters in terms of which video to publish, which video not to publish, and different kinds of rating systems for cameramen, for journalists, for all different kinds of people. Since this is huge amount of content, now the channel playout is people what are trying to do is also to deliver live linear contents in the online space using the content which anyways is there with them. And this content also over a period of time being delivered in a linear mode to people who want to view only specific kind of content. So that was an eye-opener for us. The second one is virtual reality, 360-degree and 4K streaming. Again, this was the kind of things which we are seeing here is mind-boggling. We'll soon be supporting some of our broadcasters to deliver live 4K 360-degree content in the VR mode. So if you're viewing a cricket match and if you're wearing your VR glasses, you'll be as though sitting there in the right there in the stadium. So those are the kind of things which essentially we see could be the future as far as the technology is concerned. Then specific things like frame accurate live to VOD functionality. I have a demo there which I'll probably showcase going forward on this one. Then as Dr. Jaiman mentioned, in terms of the amount of content which is getting viewed and obviously the service providers coming and supporting them. But that also brings a challenge in the amount of content which needs to be stored. Now people are creating all 4K, HD, and all different kinds of content, right? So content then also brings with it, there needs to be a space to store that content, right? And we've got all ways and means now available to also to smartly know as to what's there in the content. And then stuff like video editing in the cloud, that's also catching up in a big way. All kinds of online platforms to deliver live and video content and understand from them as to what really is getting done in the video space. And then obviously in the ad monetization space, again, new ideas, new innovations are coming up in terms of how can I monetize this content, both in the ad space, both in the subscription space. I'll speak about that in the due course of this presentation. So, and this was also one of the things which was done first time ever in the history, using AWS and Elemental, which is a company which was bought over by AWS 1.5 years back. We did live 4K streaming from space to the NAB center. And this was at a delay of 11 seconds. No time in the past has this kind of a live streaming event has taken place. So this was the first time, and this again was an eye-opener as to how these kind of things are getting done right now and what really the future holds for us. It's really unimaginable to see. On the numbers side of it, and this is typically an example of where Netflix is going as far as their content consumption is getting concerned. And on the other side, we see where content is getting consumed in kinds of different tablets, and where and what we frankly see is now content is getting consumed in all ways and means of different kinds of devices, right? We see content getting consumed from Xboxes, we see content getting consumed from gaming consoles, we see content getting consumed from in the internet mode on set-top boxes, and we have one of our customers sitting back there from Tata Sky. So different kinds and ways and means in which content getting consumed in different devices, and specifically in India, mobile has taken off in a massive way. So the most common trends which we see here are typically around these. The user experience, especially for consumers, if video is getting delivered, it has to be delivered in an optimal way. There's no second thoughts to experience. The video just can't buffer. And if it's news content, and if I'm a publisher or a broadcaster, I need my content to be up there and being available to the consumers as and when a breaking news happens. The time lag between publishing and then consuming has to be negligible. It's just negligible. We see anything has happened right now, it's just there in all sorts of portals and social the next second. Content monetization, yes, different. This definitely is a challenge, but as I said, different means are coming up in this space as well, and we have our customers here, and in fact, Alt Balaji has been successful there. They've just launched the platform a month back, and they're already in the top earners in the OTT space as of now. And they've been pretty innovative in this space, so I'm sure you'll be talking about some of the innovative stuff which you've been doing in this space. But the bottom line here is analytics. Both important from understanding what the consumers are doing, their consumers' behavior, what kind of content they really are viewing, and what kind of content are they really publishing. So, so that is really, really important. And I'll talk about some of the ways and means whereby content can be further analyzed, consumers, what they view the content, how they're kind of viewing the content, how much are they viewing content, from which places they're viewing content, which browsers they're viewing the content. So I'll talk about all these ways and means, just to give an understanding of really how and what kind of content should be further produced so that the monetization can then be built around it. With these trends, we obviously see some of these points as far as if I launch a website, then obviously it has to be highly available, secure, scalable, consistent performance, and low cost. And we definitely do help in all these arenas as such, as far as this ecosystem is concerned. How does AWS come in and help, right? As Dr. Jay Menon also mentioned, so we've kind of moved away from a traditional model of CAPEX to an OPEX. We've moved away from that model of, okay, if you need to buy servers, order for the servers, and the servers would come, say, over a period of 2 months, 3 months. If I have an idea right now, I just need to implement it right now. So, and if I need to innovate, I should be given all the flexibility, ways and means to ensure that the technology supports in order to whatever innovations or whatever ideas I have to support it. And then obviously, with regards to ensuring that once I launch my platform, then it has to be highly scalable, it has to be highly secure proof, and we do have all the ways and means to provide support in that. Now, AWS history in India is as for the following. We launched our services first in July of 2013. We launched our first POP. This is the CloudFront POP. This is the Cdn POP. We initially had 2 POPs, Mumbai and Chennai. Then we had the mega launch of our region, which was in June of last year. We then further invested in our CloudFront POPs. That's on the CDN side again. And today we've got 4 POPs, 2 in Mumbai, 1 in Delhi, and 1 in Chennai. And then we also launched a lot of our service around the transcoding space, both in the elemental side and in the elastic transcoding space in India. So if there are any requirements to do different kinds of transcoding, 4K, or different kinds of profile being generated, the same can now be done from our India region. So this is how I'll talk about these 3 approaches which we generally see from our customer base. Typically, and this is with regards to customers, how they try to consume services of AWS. The first one being the services which are provided as solutions from AWS or Elemental in this forum. This typically is around video, transcoding, packaging, and then delivering. The second one which we have is around partner-based solutions. AWS is also very thankful to its partner ecosystem. The kinds of solutions which are built on top of AWS Cloud to provide as solution offerings to customers. That's also very, very important what we see as far as our approaches to this ecosystem is concerned. The third one is typically build your own. Customers who've got huge engineering teams, development teams, they essentially try to make use of AWS to develop solutions for themselves in a custom way. And the biggest of broadcasters, I would say, are essentially going in that mode right now. But essentially, if there are customers who've got lean teams who are essentially more business-centric, that's where our partner ecosystem comes in and tries to provide solutions in any of the arena of solutions, which I'll be talking about on the next slide. So broadly speaking, these are some of the workloads which we solve and provide services to in the media space. So the first one is around content acquisition. Now, what are the ways and means available in AWS for the content to get ingested into the AWS, be it for storing, be it for processing, be it for rendering, be it for delivering. The second one is around asset management. Once the content comes in now, what are the kinds of services available to store content in the AWS space? Then stuff around production and post-production space, play out and distribution, as I was mentioning. We see play out and distribution also moving from the on-premise and onto the cloud now. The publishing space, then typically this has been the first workload which our customers started to use AWS for, either the storage or the publishing. OTT, I'll talk about OTT. At this time, OTT is extremely hot, especially after the success of some of the OTTs like Balaji or Hotstar, which are customers of ours. the media supply chain right from ingest to delivery and analytics, and then I'll talk about the analytics and also artificial intelligence in the space. Briefly, to talk about some of our customers here, we do have some of the customers represented in the room. But typically, if you see, we've got customers from different parts of media. We've got customers in the newsprint. We've got customers in the broadcast. We've got customers in the content production space. And then we've got customers in the aggregation space. And then we also have customers in the music aggregation and distribution space. And globally as well, that's kind of the same format. I'll also talk about some of the things which customers are doing very innovatively, customers like Netflix, or customers like Washington Post, or customers like Uyala, and so on. So as I was speaking on the previous slide, this is basically a block diagram of the specifics around the offerings which are available from a video or a media ecosystem per se for our media customers. In the content production space, we've got capabilities to do rendering jobs, video editing jobs in the cloud. In the content storage space, now what are the ways and means to ingest content? Now, again, different ways and means are available to ingest content, then store content, and then move content from our different flavors of storage. Then processing content, I'll talk about this in the following slides, but stuff like DRMs, integration being done at the encoder level or the transcoder level itself. And we've got like services of Elemental can have interfaces up to 40 different kinds of DRMs which are available in the market as of now. Content distribution space, and then in the analytics space. So, and then in the artificial intelligence space as well. Stuff like what content is getting more popular, and if it's getting popular in, say, 30 minutes, then what's the probability for it to get further consumed in the next 24 hours or 48 hours. Different kinds of machine learning algorithms are getting built on in order to give us data around this. As I said, we've got a rich partner ecosystem with each of the workloads which I mentioned on the previous slide. We've got partners available. The partners listed here are typically showcased here are our global partners, but we also have the Indian partners as well, offering services to each of these respective workloads. And again, some of the Indian partners have done very, very innovative stuff in the analytics or the artificial intelligence space or in the broadcast playout space. This probably is a diagram of it's got stuck. Yeah, so I'll just mention. So we initially talked about the content ingestion space. In the ingest space, we've got services such as Direct Connect, which is basically a service. Thanks, Vivek. I'll just move forward. Yeah, so in the ingest space, we've got these three services which are towards ingesting content into our storage or ingesting content into AWS. Starts from Direct Connect. Now, Direct Connect is a direct link which is available from the studios or the broadcast houses right into AWS. So very useful for news use cases wherein a lot of news content gets produced on a ready basis, on an everyday basis, and where content needs to be ingested in a regular supply and coming into the AWS region. So for those use cases, we see Direct Connect, and again, this is available up to gigabytes, GBPS scales, multiple GBPS scales from different locations in India. The second one is a service called Snowball. The use case for this, what we see is this basically is an appliance, and if we need to say ship 80 terabytes or 100 terabytes of content at one go. Now this is an appliance, it's a kind of a suitcase which you order online that is available on your premises. You ingest content in that suitcase kind of device and then gets shipped into the AWS region. So it can move around 80 to 100 terabytes of content at one go. And typically the cost of this for one transaction is only $250. Very useful for use cases wherein content needs to be moved, content which is already available, lift and shift decent amounts of content. What we also launched last reInvent, which was in November of last year, was a service called Snowmobile. Now this is a physical truck which got launched, and in fact in reInvent on the stage just next to the floor area, we had literally a truck coming in and then stopping there. This truck can essentially move 100 petabytes of content at one go. So the truck physically goes to the premises, puts the content in there in the truck, and then drives it and then puts the content into the AWS region. So that's the one which, and we've already starting to see examples of broadcasters trying to move those heavy volumes of content into AWS, either for storing or for processing. The third one is S3 transfer acceleration. Again, a mechanism available. We've got our CDN POPs, which typically till now have been for distributing content or delivering content from AWS to the consumers. But here comes a way wherein the same infrastructure can be used to ingest content into AWS. So all of our CDN POPs are directly connected to each other. We've got physical fibers running in between each of these. So if I need to ingest content, say into San Francisco, I can use the Delhi POP here, and this can, through our own paths, can take the content from Delhi into our regions in the US East Coast or the West Coast. So it's going to be much faster than traditionally if I need to, say, upload heavy files into the regions of AWS globally. So these three models available, and then we essentially come into a storage. Again, different kinds of storage available. The first one is S3, which I'm sure all of us definitely know, but this is a storage wherein we upload content into this and I immediately need to retrieve it. So that's the use case for this. The second one is infrequent access. I upload content into storage, but I probably will not require it frequently. I might just require it after a certain period of time. And the third one is Glacier, which essentially is a cold storage. I just ingest content into storage, and I might just require it once in maybe 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. So it's a kind of an alternative to tape drives, and we've got solutions of asset management which are then built on top of these flavors. We also have capabilities to move content amongst these storages. So I'll take an example of news, right? So in news space, news content becomes stale maybe after 2 days or 5 days. And since the pricing is also a difference between, say, infrequent access and Glacier, there could be policies made wherein the content can move from S3 into Glacier in an automated fashion. Very useful for news broadcasters, and we see this being used in a massive way. This is the device which I was talking of, the Snowball. As I was saying, it can actually take now up to 100 terabytes, 80 terabytes of content per capacity. And very, very useful if there's any kind of a content which you have and which needs to be moved in. This definitely is the device which you should look at. We also have asset management solutions which can be used by some of our partners, or they can also be custom built. One of the very important use cases what we saw over here was, so asset management is one wherein you essentially tag content based specific files. It could be like a 5-minute file or a 10-minute file basis the metadata which you enter. But a use case what we've just recently launched is around artificial intelligence in asset management space. Now what happens is we break the file, the video file, into respective frames per second, right? So each of the frames which are represented in a video, we break them down into, say, each frame, say, 16 frames in a second. And then we've got a service called recognition, which tries to identify as to what's happening in that thumbnail or in the image of the video. And then using that, we are able to tag these respective thumbnails with respect to any kind of useful information which we can derive out from that specific thumbnail. So that's a great use case which has just come in, whereby the content which is stored can be intelligently used to essentially find out what I need to find out in that video. So for example, I am an editor and I need to just prepare a story of, say, Modi visiting Allahabad at 6 p.m. an evening time. So I need to be right there in that specific file. Now traditionally, people would go and look into the different kinds of tape libraries and get the content and then try to search for that specific location where that scene is. But using recognition now, I can actually move right to that scene, prepare the content, and then essentially take it and move that into publishing. So that's a great use case which has come out using artificial intelligence. And I had a video, but I think we're kind of moving late in time. I'll talk about a customer example here, Netflix. Now the good thing, obviously they use a lot of our instances, between 50,000, 70,000 instances there. But one of the important things to see here, and Netflix content gets consumed on a lot of different devices. They essentially transcode this in more than 60 different retentions, output retentions. Different kinds of formats, different kinds of bit rates, but that's the kind of capacity in which they're trying to transcode this content. And this obviously is one of our biggest customers, but the kind of innovative things which they're doing is amazing to see. I'll talk about a bit on the OTT space. Now this is a typical architecture, what we generally see in the OTT space, in the video space. Now from this camera, this can either be a live video or this could be, say, a on-demand video that gets connected using any of the services which I've just spoken about in terms of direct connect or snowball or transfer acceleration, gets into the AWS cloud in S3 or in other flavors of storage, gets transcoded using two flavors of transcoding which we have, either the elemental transcoding services or elastic transcoding services, get formatted into different formats and into different bit rates, and then the process feed goes into S3. From there it gets published using our CDN services onto the consumers. But what also can happen is using our services such as SNS, if a video did not process fully or if there was a problem in the video, then notifications can be sent to different people who are trying to either work on the video or uploading that video to essentially tell them that something was wrong. So this is a kind of a workflow which we see. What we've also launched very recently is if this could be, if this is like a live feed which is going into S3, and consider this to be a live feed, say, going over direct connect, which is a consistent pipe, going into S3, we can essentially cut that live clip into pieces, right, into frames, into small clips, say 5 minutes or 1 minute, and then further break it down into those frames to understand what's happening in the thumbnail. And that essentially is also used to govern and build monetization logic as to where essentially should I place my ad, say in a VOD kind of an environment, or one of the other use cases of artificial intelligence which we've just kind of launched is if I have, and traditionally this is very true with broadcast feeds, and I have a broadcast feed and I have the broadcast ads running, but my digital requires digital ads, right? So this mechanism can essentially find out when the broadcast feed is switching to an ad feed, and at that specific instant of time, it can actually throw in a request either to an ad server to send in to ask for an ad, or the ad could already be there in S3 from where it could play. So all different kinds of mechanisms coming in for the content to be delivered, rendered, consumed, analyzed, and monetized. Digital publishing, we have all these different flavors of platforms which we support, so I'll not talk much. We all understand this. Some of our digital publishing customers in this space, The Guardian is one of our customers which has been with us for a long time, and one of the critical problem statements with them was they needed to understand what consumers were doing with the content. What kind of content were they consuming? And then they used our analytics capabilities to build a solution around the entire analytics logic. I'll talk a bit about our CloudFront capabilities. Now, in total, we've got 73 POPs right now. Our CDN has been extremely popular. We have a lot of customers, approximately in the range of 14 to 15,000 customers in India on CloudFront. And the biggest customer we have on our CDN is obviously Amazon.in, which runs exclusively on Amazon CDN. We've got customers like our own Amazon Prime is a great customer. One of our customers is sitting right here in the room, which is Alt Balaji, which essentially uses us right from the ingestion to the distribution side, right from ingestion to storage to processing, and then on the CDN side in a massive way. Some of the use cases in the Cdn space. Now, this is a great use case for live, and this is of the FIFA World Cup of last time. Now here, what we were doing was we were taking in feeds from Rio, and we were processing these feeds in a totally separate continent, which was Dublin. We had 48 concurrent streams which were coming in from each of the respective stadiums. And all of these feeds were coming into the AWS region, being processed there. A certain amount of playlists were also getting generated in the cloud. And then depending upon which content needs to be switched in for play, all of that processing was also being done in the cloud. So storing, live delivering, and then also analyzing on what was happening on these feeds. This is an example of a VOD use case. Now, we do have lots of solutions available in the VOD space as well, right from storing to transcoding to analyzing. Through our partner ecosystem, we also have partners who essentially can tag around and bring in the ads, say in the backfill ads which are there, or ads which essentially give high premiums, and also analytic solutions as a comprehensive solution. Analytic solutions not just for the entire media video delivery, but also the entire ads campaign management around it. So let us know if there are any of your requirements of video publishing, and then we can accordingly suggest you the right solution. As far as our media analytics are concerned, we broadly see this in 4 block areas, either in the content, to understand what really is happening with the content, which is the top content, what is the kind of engagement of my content, are people viewing the entire content or people are just tipping away, what's the kind of audience base of my content, and then also around the operations in terms of, is my content really buffering, and all sorts of data around QoS, and also all this content is getting fed back to the business teams to either prepare what kind of content I need to prepare, or if my content is getting delivered, it's say in a specific territory, then what kind of ad networks do I bring in so as to give the best buck for that specific content. This is a block diagram of how this happens in the AWS space, right from storage to event processing to data processing, and then again on publishing side of it on the dashboard. So we've got different ways and means and capabilities available to provide this as a service. So in the summary, I would suggest that your customers will obviously consume content in different ways and means. That obviously provides different kinds of monetizing capabilities and challenges. And we do have services and all technology available to provide solutions with respect to each of these different arenas. So please do let us know if there's any interest in any of the areas, and we can definitely help and provide you solutions there. I think I overrun my time in a big way, but thank you very much. Thanks a lot.